streaming on YouTube. First order of business, I'd like to ask a motion to approve the minutes of the August 27th, 2025 meeting of the Finance Committee as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Accepted. We now hear from Mr. Rooney and Mr. Bowser for a review of the proposed amendments to the committee charter.
Yes, I can go ahead. So before the committee today is the charter that we have for this particular committee. There's been some cleanup type edits made to it, as you can see in your materials, but there has been one substantive edit to align with some of the other considerations that the other committees are taking into consideration with respect to their charters. And that substantive edit is to clarify for this committee that all trustees of the board are invited to attend the Finance and Investment Subcommittee meetings, but only those members of the board that are assigned to the Finance and Investment Subcommittee can vote during the committee meeting. And so I wanted to present this to the group so that we could discuss, and then ultimately this will be, we'll ask for a recommendation to move this forward to the governance committee so that they can consider it during their next regularly scheduled meeting.
Any comments, anything else on that? If not, then we are going to move to Mr. Blake and Mr. Strickland with Clearstead for the investment committee report.
John, before we do that, can we make a recommendation to move this forward to the governance committee for their
So we want
consideration?
a motion to move the recommendation to the changes to the bylaws to the governance committee.
Yes, thank you.
I assume we can all vote on this at this point since we haven't changed the policy.
After this,
You are correct.
after this,
You are correct.
One
just for this one, and then after it.
One last time.
And second, do I?
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All, any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, now I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Blake and Mr. Strickland.
Good afternoon. We've got a quick update, but I think some good updates to share with the committee. Not sure if everyone has copies. Here we go, up on the screen. So I'll cover the oversight dashboards, a couple of quick comments on capital markets. David's gonna cover performance for the third quarter. And that'll wrap up the meeting for the investment update. So on slide 3, the next slide, this is the 2025 oversight dashboard. So with today's discussion, we'll have covered all the key items over the course of the year, reviewing the investment policy, strategic asset allocation, and what our long-term growth expectations are, and the overall fee analysis. Just want to remind the group of that. Also, as a reminder, at the last meeting, the committee approved taking a $30 million gain from the equity investments and rebalancing that into short-term fixed income. On the following slide is a draft for 2026. So, by design, we want to be covering those strategic items over the course of the year. And as we always do, we'll be flexible. If the world changes and we need to talk about different things, we'll be prepared to do that. Okay, moving forward, we've got a couple of things to highlight in terms of economic updates. So on the following slide, what we saw is really after the first quarter, economic activity has picked up a little bit. So that's positive. Early in the year, there were some thoughts of recession. We aren't seeing that on the horizon. Corporate fundamentals look strong overall. And also in recent months, earnings growth expectations have actually increased for 2025 and 2026. There had been downward revisions up till the last few months, so that's a positive thing to note. All investments in the quarter were positive, equity markets, fixed income markets, and you'll see that reflected when David goes through results. I'd also wanted to note that the labor market looks more fragile today than what what everybody was viewing through the course of most of the year. A big part of that had to do with downward revisions and job creations, that there's about 1 million less jobs than what was anticipated. This has really fueled some of the Fed's decisions to cut interest rates the last couple of meetings. So a 25 basis point cut in September and in October. And the chair kind of kept the door open of whether there would be a cut in December or not. It's possible, but if we start to see inflation rise a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a moment, that might give them reason to pause in December. So we'll see. The fourth quarter seasonably, so if you kind of ignore just whatever's going on in the world, the fourth quarter of calendar years is generally one of the better quarters. We're off to a good start. Markets are positive so far. I just wanted to note that. On the following slide, just a few more details from the Fed. So comparing June to September, what the Fed is seeing is a little bit better GDP growth, expecting roughly the same unemployment rate by the end of the year. Inflation the same for 2025 as expected in June, but a little bit higher inflation by the end of 2026 than what they were expecting at the last meeting. And then, of course, Fed funds being a little bit, that's the discount rate being a little bit lower in 25 and 26. The following slide, just a few more details on inflation. We are seeing CPI pick up a little bit, and there's a number of different things that are flowing into that. Shelter inflation has actually been gradually going down, but we're seeing an increase in goods inflation, and services has been roughly flat here recently. So this is something obviously the Fed is watching very closely. On the following slide, our earnings expectations. So compared to June 30th, we're seeing higher earnings expected in the S&P 500. These are from Wall Street analysts. So it's an increase there and also an increase for 2026. And then finally, before I kick it over to David to talk about performance, the yield curve is on the following page. And this is very relevant to Metro because remember the overall context of the balance sheet reserve investments, a lot of them are in cash and short-term fixed income. So what we're seeing here recently is yields have shifted downward a little bit. So the immediate benefit to you is that increases the value of your bonds. So you'll see results have been pretty strong within your bond portfolios, but the lower yields does eat into your future return potential a bit. So there's a balance there. Credit spreads have remained very tight, so credit markets don't seem concerned about the future. And you don't have a lot of credit market exposure in the portfolio. So with that, yes, sir.
Maybe I'll just say thank you. Quick question on, do you have any perspectives, just going back to the S&P earnings page? Earnings are improving. Do you guys have any perspectives on how you feel about the earnings multiples, P multiples relative to these earnings?
Yeah, they're full. So what's happened is the market has moved quicker than what earnings growth has come in. So that's created higher multiples. We're being very conscious of that. And I think that was a factor for taking the gains that this group approved at the last meeting. So one of the comments earlier on said something like price to perfection. So there does seem to be a lot of good things priced into the market. So I think this group has accounted for that, and we'll continue to rebalance where we think it's necessary. The other thing to keep in mind with the multiples in the market is the big tech companies are a very large percentage of those indexes, and they are bringing the average multiple up quite a bit. But also be aware that a lot of the earnings growth that's expected is also coming from those tech companies. So, I guess that cuts both ways. That is driving a lot of the earnings growth.
Thank you.
Well, is there any thought on if the tariffs get turned over by the Supreme Court? Is that how much you think the markets factored that in? There'll be billions of dollars back to businesses. So I think that's going to be hard to put your finger on.
it doesn't feel like the market has reacted all that much to that pending case. So I would say the market probably has not factored that in pretty much. So. Right.
All right, good afternoon. I'm gonna move to the investment monitoring tools. If you look at actually slide 12, please. You can see the system was in compliance with Ohio Revised Code in the investment policy during the third quarter. So no changes or concerns there. If we move to slide 15, gives you this is a watch list and looks at all the different positions in the portfolio. You can see at the top there is the qualitative attributes that we review each quarter. You can see no across the board, so no changes or issues or concerns with our managers in the portfolio. And then the bottom left, you can see the quantitative attributes. And so this shows you the performance relative to the benchmark for each manager. If you see any of the green, that shows you relative underperformance. The thing there, you can see it's slightly trailing for some of our active equity managers. And a lot of that is alluded to, as Adam mentioned, is some of the AI mega cap names and some lower quality small cap stocks have really had a really strong run, and that's benefit some of the index positioning relative to some active managers, but no concerns on a long-term basis or performance. Moving to the performance update on slide 17, please. This gives you a picture of the system snapshot broken down by the system and the captive insurance. And you can see the far right column there. As of 9/30, the market value performance of market value of 686 million and change. The bottom columns there show you the reserve pool and non-reserve pool split. And the one number I want to point out there is the bottom left number is the 359 million in the reserve pool, which is above the required 300 million to be in compliance. Slide 18, this is a review of the performance of the total plan. You can see as of the third quarter, as Adam alluded to, strong performance across all risk assets and positioning. So third quarter performance of 3.2%, year to date up 8%. Going down across some of the asset class performance, you can see equity position at a 7% growth on the quarter, mainly coming from domestic equities compared to the international equities. So domestic outperformed internationals, but on a year to date basis, you can see the strong performance from international equities so far year to date. As we move to slide 20, this is just put into the dollar terms, some of the performance I showed you in the previous page. So let's look at the bottom rows here. If you look at the third quarter 2025 performance, you could see the starting balance of reserve and non-reserve pool of 442 million, net cash flows out of 19 million, and a strong performance in the third quarter of 13 million net investment change. So if you take a look at that on a year-to-date basis, we've seen net investment growth of $30 million so far this year. So moving to slide 23, please. So this is a review of the snapshot more recently as of 10/22. We've as Adam alluded to, we've seen continued growth in October in equity and fixed income markets. So you can see the balance slightly higher at the bottom there, the total of 686 million. And as we mentioned, we did make that change of taking some gains from the equity portfolio, reinvesting in fixed income, given that the strong markets and equities. So that has been positive, replenishing that into the fixed income portfolio. Okay, moving on to the captive. On slide 24, you can see strong performance for the captive as well. Third quarter performance of 4.3%, 11.3% year to date. The captive breakdown is split between 50% equities and kind of 50% alternatives and fixed income. And both those markets have done strong and strong relative absolute performance so far this year. And then putting that into dollar terms, lastly, in slide 26, taking a look at that bottom row. So third quarter 2025, starting balance of $115 million, net investment change of $5 million, and an ending balance of $120 million. That $120 million, as a reminder, does not include $14 million in operating cash. So again, you can see the results have been really strong. Year-to-date investment gains of about $12.8 million so far. Any questions on performance? That concludes Clearstead's remarks today. Thank you very much.
Questions? If there are no other questions, then thank you, Mr. Strickland. We're going to now hear from Mr. Woods and Mr. Rooney regarding the September 2025 financial report.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick will walk through the September financials. Remember, September is the end of our third quarter, and it was a stronger quarter than we experienced early in the year, which I know early in the year, things looked a little more difficult. But I think I'll let Patrick walk through the numbers for the September.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, so as Jeff mentioned, our quarterly results were very strong this quarter. We had a positive operating income of $6.8 million, which exceeded budget by $7.8 million, really driven by increase in volumes, continued growth in our pharmacy, and we're starting to realize some of the impacts from the cost-cutting strategies that we implemented earlier in the year. Presentation.
Sorry,
Thanks,
hang on
Bob.
1 second.
We have it in front of us, Patrick. We have it in front of us.
Yeah, you can keep going.
You can keep going.
Yeah. I can pull it up, sorry.
Here you go, Bob.
Relying on technology.
I can walk you through it by memory. Yeah, just give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, let's go one more slide. Sorry. Okay, so I'm just gonna walk you through the year-to-date statistics really quick. Again, we've seen increases across the board in our stats. Our volumes have really grown year over year. They really haven't, in some of the cases, we haven't met budget, but seeing strong year over year growth is really showing a demand in our services. First thing is the discharges and observations, again, higher than 2024, but in some instances, we're lagging behind budget, but right on par. Emergency department visits have been really strong all year. They have been, I mean, significant, 5,000 visits over last year, 4,000 over budget. It's an increase of almost 5% year over year. Surgical cases, while in total they have been above 2024 and over budget, it's really driven by outpatient surgical cases, while our inpatient surgical cases have been lagging, and really these are kind of the high dollar, higher acuity. So we really see some unfavorable variances when we're looking at an inpatient cases alone. outpatient visits have been stellar. Again, we just haven't hit the mark on budget, but significantly higher than we've been in 2024. Like I mentioned, the opening, our pharmacy is really kind of record numbers. You know, every single month we're beating prior month's records. You can see that by the scripts filled, and also our capture rate is increasing, so we're getting more of our patients seen. We're actually serving their prescription needs. Again, I think we'll anticipate this trend to continue throughout the year, seeing significant pickups for the prescriptions. Next slide, please. So this is the year-to-date income statement. So, you know, when we're looking at net patient revenue, again, significantly higher than prior year, but we trail behind budget. And it's important to note that a lot of what's happening within our net patient revenue is attributed to charity care as well, right? I mean, it's no secret we've had significant issues associated with that, and I'll talk to that a little bit in a couple slides. The pharmacy revenue, as you can see, you know, $60 million to both budget and last year's. And then our other revenue has been trailing budget. This was really due to some contracted income associated with like our jail revenue, the volumes have decreased, and as well as there were some contracts that were eliminated throughout this year or didn't come to fruition that were anticipated in the budget last year that we really didn't foresee coming last year. So again, I mean, we're $10 million under budget, which is not great, but you know, it's not terrible either. Looking at operating expenses, salaries and wages is significantly favorable to budget, a little higher than last year. We do have more FTEs than we had at this point last year, but the rate that we were supposed to have those FTEs, it never materialized for this year. And also we pulled back on some bonus programs and things of that nature that really kind of helped that line item be favorable through 9 months. You know, when we're looking at kind of all the expense line items here, you know, a lot of the ones that are unfavorable, medical supplies, pharmaceuticals, plant operations, I mean, those are variable expenses that are really driven by the uptick in volumes or prescriptions that we fill. Even the plant operations, a large part of that unfavorability is associated with more life flights that we do. But then you're looking at some of all the other ones are favorable, right? And that's really a testament to the entire Metro Health team coming together and trying to being aware of our financial position and really making an effort to kind of curb unnecessary spending and things of that nature. So really kind of move directions. And really, if you look at it in every department, it's not like it's isolated to one department, it's across the board. We're seeing these pickups. So
Richard, I have a question.
sure.
So salary and wages favorability is 4.2% to budget,
Yes.
but your benefits are only 0.3% favorable to budget. So normally those two kind of align?
Yeah.
I don't need to know now, but is there a reason why you're not seeing the same ratio of savings in your benefits as you do in your salaries?
Yeah, there's it definitely trends in the same direction. I mean, there are some line items within that
This
don't
is telling you
necessarily.
you're on budget for benefits, but you're below budget in wages, salary and wages.
Right. Yeah, but we're below budget, but just not at the same click. I understand what you're.
It's flat.
Yeah, right,
You're
exactly.
flat
It's
to-
the same, right,
Flat
exactly.
to budget.
Yeah,
And again, you don't need the answer now, it sticks out to me that there
sure.
should have been a bigger pickup in your salary and benefits if you did not fill it as fast of a rate as you thought you were gonna fill, because you're not giving those benefits then to those individuals. So just something to look into, and
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll
obviously, I mean, that's a
I'll-
potential opportunity if there's, looking at it, so. Okay,
I'll have an answer to you by the end of this prep.
you don't need to give it to me
This
today.
It's not a one-to-one, because remember.
I know it's not one-to-one.
We're self-insured for health benefits. So that the actual experience of our employees and their health challenges can go up and down, and I know that's part of it.
Good.
But that's not, I don't know if that's the whole story, but that's a big part of it. So,
Well, yeah, what he's saying though, if you can spend more on less employees and your prescription drug costs could be higher with a lower base, but your other benefits that go along with it you wouldn't see that change. So I'm just saying, it just seems odd that one's flat and one's very favorable. I'm trying to figure out why, so.
Yeah, and to Jeff's point, like we were accruing higher to budget for our health plan because we didn't know how the claims were gonna shake out towards, obviously, like our invoice bill, not, like what our rate needs to be at the end of the year needs to match what our actuarial is. And last year, we were significantly behind and we had to incur a lot of expense in the later half
The
of the
good news
year.
will be you're telling me that possibly at the end of the year, you're gonna have adjustment going the other way.
Correct.
but we're not
I'm not 100% sure, I mean, so.
I'm writing that one down on the note.
Yeah, I
Note, Victoria, that I will be here with my voice.
I'd like to hear it.
In February, it's gonna
Your
be
commentary.
well, I'll certainly look into it a little bit more and see where those variances are. Okay, so again, any other questions about the expenses? I mean, depreciation and amortization are relatively flat. I mean, we've had some pickup in depreciation and amortization, but that was just when things go into service and things of that nature. But our operating loss is, $31 million. No, it's again, still a lot of work to do, but it's a little bit better than we initially anticipated even a few months ago. So, next slide, please. Okay, so the payer mix, this is when I kind of want to dive into the charity care portion of this. So this is gross charges. So this isn't our cost of care or our net patient revenue. This is strictly looking at gross charges that come in. So if you see on the bottom is that through 9/30, we're at $275 million charity care, which is essentially what we spent all of last year. And if you're looking at the payer mix and the graphs, it's a direct correlation to our rise in self-pay amounts. We were relatively flat through 2023 at 5%, and then we jumped up to 5.8, then we went to 6.6. And another factor here is that we've seen a significant decrease a 3% decrease in Medicaid charges, which, a lot of that is offset. People are moving into commercial plans, but those commercial plans are really marketplace plans, and it's, so we're not getting the same clip of reimbursement with our supplementals as we would do with our Medicaid plans as well. So, again, this is really the kind of the story, and we anticipate this to continue throughout the year. And I know that there's been policies and stuff, but it's going to take a while for those to realize any real changes. Next slide, please. Okay, moving on to the balance sheet. As you can see, our cash has significantly increased since the end of last year. We received a large supplemental payment in September for our HCAP program. So we received $51 million, which really kind of boosted our cash position. Our receivables, again, just with higher volumes, higher dollars, that's an increase to over $30 million since the end of last year. Our other current assets have increased. This is really driven by we have an outstanding receivable associated with our CSIP program. And we're waiting for CMS to get clarification on when we're going to get paid for that. But that's really, we're carrying almost over $20 million receivable through 9/30 for that. The non-current assets, investments have went down this year, mainly driven. We were in some cash positions earlier in the year. We sold some investments. Our capital assets has increased by $20 million. This was really driven by the construction and progress associated with the outpatient health center. And again, everything else has remained relatively flat from an asset perspective. Current liabilities, these are really timing issues. There's really no fluctuations or any main drivers. It's just kind of when we pay our liabilities. Our long-term debt has decreased by about 12 million. That's due to the principal payments that we've made on our bonds. So all in all, I mean, our balance sheet is in a strong position right now. Obviously, the most important one being the cash position from where we were kind of earlier in the year. Next slide, please. And again, this is just reiterating what I said. I mean, you see where we're trending year over year right now. And again, there's a lot of dollars that's owed to us that could really help our cash balances as well and give us the ability to do more things once we get some of those issues resolved. Next slide. Covenant compliance, days cash on hand is really isn't a concern of us right now. I mean, we're in a strong position from that metric. The one that we were more worried about was the debt service coverage ratio earlier in the year. That is much better than what we were initially projecting at the beginning of the year. And there's some factors, obviously the strong quarter that we had, coupled with when we rebalanced our portfolio, those realized gains that we recognized from that rebalancing actually increased. That increases our debt service coverage ratio because it's essentially more dollars that we have available to cover our debt. So right now we're in a good position. I don't know if we're in a safe position, but we're in a much better position than what we were at the beginning of the quarter. Next slide, please. Running out with the capital budget. So we have about $17 million remaining on our capital budget of $45 million through 9/30. And again, this spend doesn't include the outpatient center, which was approved outside of the scope of that $45 million and previously to the board. So there's been a lot of spend on that as we bring that to the finish line. But again, we're from a capital, this really kind of seems to slow down as we get into fourth quarter. So I think we're in a good position from a capital budget standpoint. And that's the financials. Is there any other questions?
So was the radiology equipment spend replacement or new or both?
That is, it's both. So it's
Do you have a percentage replacement versus, again?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's all new. Like
No, I know, but is it replacing, you were taking a 64 slice CT and replacing it with a 256 slice, which would be an enhancement. You could be able to get more patients through because you have faster imaging times. Or is it new technology? You're putting another tomo unit in somewhere that's going to get you new breast patient population. Is it going from a 0.5 Tesla magnet to a 3 Tesla magnet, which is both replacement and again speed? To me, it matters what you're replacing it with.
So I was talking to Dr. Bruce yesterday. This is almost all replacement. There is a ancient PET scanner, which is very critical to our oncology program, that is way past its
Is that included in the purchase?
So yes, that is also, I believe that's also on the agenda. Nowadays, it's a PET CT. Nowadays, it's just a PET scanner. Our old one, I believe, was just.
That was my old marching grounds for 30 some odd years. So
That's right. That's right. So yes, that is also in our planning, but.
No, it's pertinent to the next discussion when we come to budget.
Yes.
Because if you're replacing scanners and MRs and you're buying new technology, your image capture time is reduced, which means you should be able to run more patients through that volume versus you did before, even with the new
PET CT.
Well, interestingly enough, we just had a software upgrade on our MRI to do exactly, to do
So, and
exactly that.
again, so I'll be loaded for questions later since you told me it's replacement, which tells you it's a new faster imaging time, so I'll be expecting to see some volume increases. So I would be, you can do that one for me.
Hey, John, quick.
Yes, sure,
Just to follow up, Ron, on your point, but how will that affect our staffing strategy? Would the
It
two
actually
go
doesn't
hand in
impact,
hand?
it doesn't impact your staffing, because essentially you're able to put more units, you're able to put more patients through with the same staff you have. So actually, it's more of an efficiency.
Well, we have a strategy though in front of us to manage that staffing of radiology, I think.
But if you take current staffing level and you put in an enhancement and you increase, you change your CT to a faster image, you're gonna be able to run more patients through with less staff.
Or if we have the same number of patients, less staff.
If you have the same, well, you should be able to, if you have same number of patients with less, but I'd have the alternate strategy.
Well, if we could,
I think Peter and Chrissy want to pick up market share. So that's giving you capacity that, unmet capacity, you should be able to, it's not the finance people that does it, it's behind me, these white coats behind me that need to do that, so anyways. I'm trying to prep the battlefield for the next conversation.
So Doug, you walked in at the exact time we were talking about the replacement of our.
Jeff, we can save it for the budget, I'm just,
We'll save that discussion for the
You don't give me
budget.
any hints on what I'm gonna.
No, I got the.
We'll move on then. Mr. Woods, are you done with that before we jump on to the?
I am.
Okay, so then we're now gonna move on to the, we're gonna do the executive session. Okay.
No, we're in the public session.
Oh, we're gonna do a little bit of
the annual
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, I'm sorry. A little bit of the annual budget right now
Yes.
then. later. So back to you.
So we're just gonna walk through a few slides here on the budget. So one of the things we have emphasized this year was driving to a positive operating income. So the area that you see there shaded in green is the operating income number. We're continuing to show the EBITDA numbers right below that. But we want to emphasize operating income because as you can see from 23 through 25, you can run a negative operating income margins and still show kind of a big positive EBITDA number. But we need to be at break even or better, preferably much better on that operating income line in order to fund all that capital that Patrick was just showing and how much we're gonna have for 26 as well. So to fund our capital, that number needs to be positive. Now, the good thing about that $31 million number is that it's actually, the actual number of pure operating income is $19 million, and we allocated $12 million to begin the process of bringing down the towers. So that's about roughly a third of the cost, a little more than a third of the cost of bringing down the towers. So that's actually quite an improvement. 19 million on a budget of 2.2 million is pretty darn close. So we're working our way toward break even with our goal in 2027, is just to really to hit that break even number. So the one thing, really bright spot here on the operating expenses, and this is a credit to the entire operations team, is how well we've kept a lid on labor costs, salaries, wages, and benefits. We have a very strict physician control function here, and our salary growth over from 24 to 26 budget is very limited. So that's the thing that will help us the most in achieving an operating income number. That's a very large percentage of our costs. You can see on the bottom, as we've grown, you can see how the revenue has grown tremendously over the last. This is a 4-year, we're really showing a 4-year period here. We've grown staff to match that, but again, we're kind of holding the line on, holding the line on staff in 26 compared to 25. Next slide. So this is a really interesting slide for us because it really puts the support we're getting from the county into context, because they've given us give or take a few million, the same amount of money every year since 2007. It's gone up 4 million, down 4 million, up a few million, and next year they're talking about going down by another 3 million. But if we looked at the support in 2007 that they were providing us, $36.1 million, that would be equivalent to $52.6 million today. So they were supporting us at a level that's essentially 50% above what we're getting, or roughly 50% above what we're getting today, roughly. So while the dollar amount has held kind of mostly flat, it's been eaten up. It's really been eaten up by inflation. So that support is very important for us because you'll see, I think you'll see as we talk through the budget, how much our charity care has, over the same time period, how much our charity care has grown. So on our capital budget, what we are budgeting for next year is really $45 million. We have 17 million to complete the outpatient health center, which is gonna open in April, is that right? May, April. And we have prior year projects, which Patrick showed there, $10 million, which that spending will continue into 2026. And what you're seeing on the right there is that we've asked people for capital submissions. I don't know what the total is up to now, Doug, but we asked for multiple years, and it's over 100 million, and for sure I don't know if it's up to 200 yet. But lots of needs, we have lots of needs, and what Doug asked for is multiple, for people to lay out what we need over the course of years so we can plan future years better, not just the next year. So we are gonna be starting to vet those projects now, and this is what you see on the right there is essentially the order of priority in which we will allocate that capital. So patient safety, of course, has to be number one. Anything that relates to patient safety or quality has to be a top priority. We have to not lose sight of investing our money strategically. And then what that means is we have to grow. While we have to replace the capital to continue operating, we also need to pay attention to how we grow. So strategic will be an important priority for us as we look to the future. The next three items, clinical equipment and facilities and information technology, are essentially the big three of hospitals. That's where most of your capital goes, and that is, again, there are ways to manage that, and we haven't seen everybody's wish list yet. And within that wish list are things that must be replaced, and there are things that would be nice to be replaced, and we just haven't vetted that out yet. So that is our task between now and the end of calendar year. So are there any questions on the budget?
And these are the slides we're showing to Callie next week.
Among some others, but yes, there will be some others as well, some graphs and some charity care information, but yes.
Will we see that, proposal? We'll see that ahead of time before it goes to the.
Just hold.
We're gonna be seeing executive sessions to those ones for the county. They'll also be.
Can we go into
Can we go
executive
into
session?
Yeah, let's go into
Executive
executive
session.
session next, okay.
Time we're going to move into executive session, discuss hospital trade secrets as defined by ORC 133.61. Do I have a motion to recess to an executive session to discuss these matters?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Ms. Tumis?
Yes.
Mr. Zadinsky?
Yes.
Dr. Walker?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Mr. Moise,
Oh, I
would say
yes.
yes.
And Mr. Clerk and Mr. Sullivan.
We'll act in executive session.
Both yes, right?
Correct.
So we are now heading into executive session.
We are in executive session.
So the motion would remind the public to step out.
Able to share. Okay, you are back in public session.
Back in public session, we've got 3 proposal recommendations that we're going to see if we can pass and make recommendations to the full board. The first, the Finance Committee of the Board of Trustees, Finance Committee of the Board of Trustees of the Metro Health System and the President and Chief Executive Officer of the system on the advice of Interim Chief Financial Officer. The system recommends that the system approve proposed budget for 2026 fiscal year and authorize the submission of the same to the government of Watauga County, Ohio. The information to be submitted to the counties is shown in Exhibit A. Has that? So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next recommendation to the full board, the Finance Committee of the Board of Trustees of the Metro Health System and the Interim Chief Financial Officer of the system on the advice of Chief Legal Counsel of the system recommends the system approve certain annual purchase policies and procedures to participate in group or joint procurement arrangements for the calendar year 2026 and the purpose of acquiring supplies, equipment, and services routinely used in the operation of the system. The system may obtain membership or participation in either one or more group purchasing organizations sponsored by nonprofit organizations for all products available through GPOs, provided that the terms and conditions are such participation and the GPO's policies and procedures are evaluated and determined to be in the best interest of the system. One or more state or federal operating joint purchase programs for JPP for purchase of all products available through such JPPs. The system may pay GPO or GPP participant membership fees and costs, if any, out of general operation fund. Maybe you wanna give a little background on this.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah.
Read the annotated agenda,
Okay, you
please.
don't have to read the entire resolution.
Oh.
You're enjoying it so much.
2-second background on this.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this
yeah.
is a recommendation that comes to the board every year. It's based on Ohio Revised Code Section 33905, which authorizes the Board of Trustees to annually adopt bidding procedures and purchasing policies so we can obtain those supplies. We routinely utilize that for supplies that it makes sense to purchase off of a GPO or other joint purchasing program, that it doesn't make sense for us to go out with a formal CSP or bidding process. And we're required under Ohio statute to get the board's approval to move that forward, and then the county will take a look at it, and they will also approve it historically as they have done year to year.
Any questions?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the last one is Finance Committee recommendation. This is recommends to the board, the Finance Committee of the board, yeah.
You can read from the
Recommendation.
annotated agenda. It'll be much
Oh,
easier.
okay.
See.
Recommendation for approval of support of a nonprofit affiliate. All those in favor?
Motion. You need a motion.
Motion, I'm sorry. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All approved. Any no's?
No.
Okay, well, that passes. No, for this committee, we need to adjourn.
Nancy, I'll see you on the next meeting, okay?
Okay.
We'll start at 3:10, everybody has 4 minutes.